Hi! Welcome to this video guide tutorial on how to paint this wonderful grey wolf. Here I will show you all the steps so you can visualize everything for your own wolf. This one has already been primed light grey. If you have your own and it's not primed, I used Vallejo Surface Primer through the airbrush, however you can also either brush it on or use a light grey spray can primer instead. The techniques we will be using today include contrast speed paints, dry brushing and some detail on the face. I'm using contrast paints first. For the first layer, I'm using Basilicanum Grey across the top of the back, leading it down towards the legs. Using a reference photo to help me with the placement, I'm leaving the stomach, face, bottom of the legs and the tip of the tail blank. To blend it together, you just need to rinse your brush and dab it upwards into where you've placed the contrast already. The more water you use, the more it will run. But if your brush is clean and just a little bit damp, you can mop that up as and when needed. For more information on this, check out the washes section in my Slapchop PDF guide. To speed up the process, you can use a hairdryer or handheld fan to dry it quicker. To increase the intensity on the back, I'm using Black Legion contrast. Again, using water and a damp brush to blend it into the rest of the fur. Now the contrast is done, I'm using German Grey by Vallejo to dry brush all over the darker areas of the model. I'm using London Grey to dry brush over the middle areas of the model, trying to help blend it together a little bit better. For the lighter areas, I'm using Light Grey by Vallejo, again trying to blend it into the legs and stomach. For the face and tummy, I'm using Silver Grey by Vallejo. This completes the fur. Moving on to the detail on the face, I'm painting the gums of the mouth with Old Rose by Vallejo. For more information on how to thin your paints, please check out the Base Coats PDF. Try to get it inside the mouth and when possible, but don't worry if it gets on the teeth at this stage. Next, I'm using some German Black Brown on the lips and nose. For the teeth, I'm using Silver Grey. You can angle the brush to use the flat side. This prevents the bristles from bending as much, giving you more control. Now, the eyes can be tricky. I recommend using a sable brush, as you normally get a much finer tip. And as the belly of the brush is wider, you can usually hold more liquid in there, thus preventing your paint from drying out before you get to the bit you're trying to cover. A tip for smaller areas is to use as light pressure as possible. The less pressure you use, the less the bristles bend, meaning you're able to achieve a finer point. I'm using Orange Brown by Vallejo for this. Now for the pupils of the eye, you can absolutely use a regular paintbrush. However, I recommend using a fine liner, as it gives you much more control and is much easier to get a perfect circle. I use a 0.03 size for this. Once everything is done, I'm going over the teeth, nose and eyes with Agrax Earthshade to create a bit more definition. I'm also using it very sparingly over some of the lighter areas of the fur to give it a softer, more natural tint. Finally, for the claws, I'm using German Black Brown. And there you have it, a completed tabletop standard wild wolf, ready to take on adventurers in your next D&D session. I hope this tutorial was useful and happy playing!